Welcome to the SnoWest Show. I'm Ryan Harris, host of the SnoWest Show, publisher of SnoWest Magazine. If you go to snowwest.com, we also sell merchandise. We have our forums, breaking news, industry news on the websites. Follow us on social media at snowwestmagazine.com, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube. We're brought to you, this is a new announcement. In fact, it's so new I forgot to do it. We had to start over again. We are now presented by Polaris Snowmobiles. So our title sponsor for the SnoWest Show is now Polaris Snowmobiles. And man, Ben, I'm sure you can agree. Got the. Are you a Chaos or a Pro guy?
I am a Chaos guy, definitely.
All right.
100%.
We're on common ground there.
Yeah,
sure.
Like, I haven't. So the first year the Chaos came out, I was a little iffy.
Sure.
And then spent more time on the Pro, and then got the Chaos dialed. And there was some calibration stuff, and we kind of honed it in.
Yeah.
And haven't looked back since. Like the Chaos, it's just fun. And I get on a Pro now, and it's so precise. And that's what it was for years. Is just it's a really precise weapon, and the skis stay down, and you have really good control over that. But I like wheeling. And so the Chaos is a lot of fun. And the Skidoo guys worked up at that, like wheeling, like that's Wheelie City over here. But
oh, yeah. I think there's a time and place for both the Pro RMK and the Chaos, though.
Yeah. Tools for different jobs.
Yeah,
absolutely. And that's what's cool about the sport. Is we've gone from having, just the Pro or just a Summit X, and kind of branched out. But, yeah, I agree. Chaos guy. So let me ask you this, 9R or Boost or 850?
9R for me. I'm a big 9R.
Okay, man, we got a lot in common over there. Yeah. Is there a day you're taking a Boost over 9R?
I imagine a kind of fictional day in the future where I'm riding in BC above tree line and alpine terrain where a Boost just is the tool for the job.
Yeah.
And, I'm not worried about, maybe a little bit of reduced response, but that's not most days for me down in Montana. So
yeah,
every day I'm
well, and we're not in the crazy like Colorado elevation.
No.
Right.
We're pretty good stuff there, but the Boost is a lot of fun. But yeah, I would take a 9R. Like that's my personal preference there. But
me as well.
I'll tell you what, man, the 2024 Chaos Boost 155 with the 325 track. Like when we rode that thing in January, like we instantly nicknamed that thing Cardi B. Like it is a wild machine. and the 325 allows you to do things that on a shorter track that a longer track can do. But it's also just like you can get that nose in the air instantly, and even on an NA sled on a 9R.
Yeah, with that bottom end response you get out of that big bore, that factory big bore, it's really a whole different feeling.
The 325 track is just, that thing's amazing.
Yeah,
okay,
we're excited to try it.
Yeah, so we have Ben Kobrin and Frank Hardin here from IceAge Performance. You guys are based in Bozeman, Montana, so we're kind of neighbors on the opposite sides of West Yellowstone. Ben, let's start with you. You're head of marketing and sales, right, at IceAge?
Yeah.
How long have you been with IceAge?
I've been with IceAge for a little over 4 years. I started out, just working the phones, and have moved into more of a forward-facing role, and where I've been lucky enough to work on some of the R&D projects, media stuff, marketing stuff. We're a small company, so I feel very lucky to be involved in many facets of the industry and of IceAge. So a little bit of everything. And
so when you get out on the R&D rides, I take it you're the RMK guy. Frank's riding the Skidoos.
We have a good conversation going, and that conversation continues into everything that we do. Even when we're in the booth, when we're not talking to guys, we're talking about different slides, different setups, different brands. We're very lucky that we do have the access to everything from every brand and can talk about it in an unbiased manner as an outsider and not an OEM. So we feel good.
Well, exactly. I mean, and IceAge has been around for a long time, and you guys have got a strong reputation in the West. We have Frank Hardin here. You're over sales and R&D.
Yes.
Among multiple other things.
Yep, wearing a few hats. Mainly sales, R&D, controlling a lot of the social media, photos, that sort of thing. So, yeah.
Skidoo expert.
Skidoo expert, I guess. Yeah.
So of the Skidoo lineup, speaking of expert, expert free ride, like what is your go-to? Yeah,
so the sled I have now is a 23 Expert 154 Turbo. Absolutely love it. It's a crazy sled out of the box. This season I have a 24 free ride 146 Turbo ordered.
Oh, the 146.
Yeah. I'm a fan of the 146. It's a little bit rowdy, so I'll plan on stretching it to a 154. But yeah, great sled.
So did you go that route so that the tunnel's shorter?
I did in that way, so it's proportional for some early season riding and spring riding. I'll be able to go to 146 and have the proper tunnel length for that.
No, I agree. I would have a hard time committing to the whole season on a 146, but I would like to ride most of the season on the 146 because we're doing different kind of riding than we did 5 years ago, even 10 years ago. You want a sled that is just, it's a party everywhere you go. And we're not doing the long destination big loops like we used to. And they're so capable too. Like a 146 builds so much track speed that it can actually go places. And this past year we shortened that 23 Expert to a 146, and it definitely was able to keep up better than we thought. And yeah, part of that was because of track speed.
Yeah, that new G5 skid with that more rearward rear arm placement helps transition that power, and there's a lot of it on that G5 turbo to forward momentum better than other skidoos we've ridden in the past. So in combination with some of the suspension stuff we've done, it's pretty impressive what you can do with a short track these days.
Ben, do you like riding 55s or?
I'm a 55 guy, yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
Have you been on the like a 9R 146 with a 2.6 track or?
Not with a 2.6, but yeah, I have ridden similar 146s with other tracks, and yeah, it's awesome. I think of the 146s I've ridden, the Skidoo G5 is the most capable 146, just because of that rearward arm placement and how far back that skid is in relation to where the skis are. It's just got that wheelbase. But yeah, there's some places that you want to go, and there's some places that maybe it would be smarter not to go. And with a long track turbo sled, it helps you make good decisions in the backcountry. Let's say it that way.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. A turbo 146, like a free ride. Like I tell people, you can ride that thing anywhere and as hard as you want for 15 minutes. And then you're going to settle down because you're going to be like, it's a lot to handle. Like if you're taped and that thing is just on the rear axle, it'll go. Like it'll go through trees for minutes. Just standing on the rear wheels.
Yep.
Yeah, it's become, the rider has almost become the limiting factor where the machines are so powerful, like you're getting arm pump because they're so powerful.
Yeah, for sure. So IceAge specializes in, lately, suspension. That's kind of your key, right? The Elevate kit, you've had that out for a few years. You've updated that, especially for the Polaris side. Is the entire Elevate kit across the line now have the lightweight option where you've machined out those openings? And
no, the Polaris is the first lightweight option that we've done where it has all the geometry goals and the handling that we want, which is our paramount objective when we're talking about Elevate, but also being lighter than the factory spindle and cutting weight, because that was, we talked to a number of guys that were like, I love Elevate geometry, it's amazing, but I also have this lightweight program that I like to do, and I'd like to put it on that sled as well. So we wanted to be lighter than the factory spindle, but make no compromises when it comes to geometry and performance on the snow.
Okay, so speaking of geometry, give us an idea what Elevate is.
Yes.
What's the idea behind it?
So Elevate is all about control surfaces. So your skis are your control surfaces, and your track is a control surface. So when you're on snow, in deep snow, every surface that's touching the snow that isn't a control surface is in your way. So when I say things that are in your way, I'm talking about your side panels, anything your rear bumper, your tunnel, anything that's going to oppose that move translating into the reaction from the snowmobile that gets you where you need to go. So Elevate is all about honing the snowmobile in for the off-trail rider, for the serious rider that knows what they're about when they get on that snowmobile. They're not a crossover rider. They're there to get in and out on the trail, and then they get to the zone, and that's where they spend their entire day. We are really honing it in for that serious off-trail, intermediate to advanced rider, where the stock machine is good for a large group. We want to really focus for that focused rider, and that's what Elevate's about. Yeah,
and the Elevate spindle can be weaponized in the backcountry too. Raising that center of gravity makes it a lot easier to get on edge, hold the side hill, technical terrain, inspires a bit of confidence.
Yeah, we took a lot of inspiration. The first Elevate project for us was the Arctic Cat. back in 2018 when we were on the Sender chassis, and we loved a lot of the things about that 17 Cat. It was a really good sled, had a good motor, was super responsive, reliable, but we just felt that it sat too low in the snow and didn't handle like a lot of the competitor sleds that we had been on. So we took a lot of inspiration from what Polaris did in their development process from the Pro Ride to the Axis chassis, where they introduced a little more height and dropped that skid down and got more clearance, and we loved that change. So we just took some of those design principles and applied it to an extreme to that Arctic Cat chassis. And that was, being our first Elevate project, helped to develop the vision for Elevate going forward into the future.
So, so how much are you lifting the sled out of the snow? Is it the same across the board for brands, or is each brand kind of a different geometry setup?
Yeah, so the Arctic Cat, Ascender, and Alpha is going to be 2 inches. The Skidoo is going to be 1 inch, and Polaris will also be 1 inch. And then the Skidoo actually has the ski pivot bolt moved a little bit rearward as well.
And so why do you do that?
A little less feedback in the bars and a little less bump steer, and helps with the steering effort.
Yep, and the reduction in auto steer. If you've ridden the Skidoo, you know that feeling where it kind of the keel will catch on a line or a rut or something like that, and we'll try to follow that. That reduced offset almost entirely eliminates that auto steer feeling and hold the line.
Yeah, so the free ride spindle for 24 has a little bit reduced trail, so it's kind of doing the same thing and reducing that steering effort.
Yeah, we're interested to try that. Again, we have a free ride coming, so we'll ride that in stock form for a while, just to kind of get a baseline and see how those changes affect the handling of the 24 free ride, so we can compare it to the changes that we've made for our Elevate spindle as well.
So that's 2 inches, like on a Cat Ascender. That's a lot. Like
Yes.
you're really affecting the geometry. How are you correcting everything, and what all does the Elevate kit include?
So,
Nope, go ahead.
yeah, so for the Cat, we felt that it needed the largest change. You know, when we're testing spindles and different suspension modifications, we always strive to make it a package, and we're not always the first to market with these type of geometry altering packages or spindles, but we strive to be the best, and that's because we will spend the time on snow. We have riding 5 minutes from the back door of IceAge, so that we can go out and we can test and we can develop suspension recommendations, different supporting mods, whether that's different rails or what have you, different limiter straps, to make sure that it works as a coherent package and it's not just here's a geometry change, good luck setting it up.
Right.
Yeah.
We want it to work, and we want it to have the least amount of compromise possible while having all the mountain performance that you expect out of an Elevate product.
And also testing in multiple iterations. So, we didn't just shoot for the 2 inches of height on the Ascender and just, call it a day. We're testing different iterations of, spindle height before we, release it to the general consumer.
So, but it's not just spindle height. You need a different length shock. Are you changing the A-arms or anything? Or?
So for an Alpha, for example, it's going to be a different limiter strap that's a little bit longer than the factory limiter strap. And on the tunnel, the front arm is going to be remounted into the lowest hole. That's pre-punched, but not necessarily pre-drilled from the factory. On the inside of your tunnel, if you go look at your factory Alpha on a current chassis, there's a 3-position bracket, and we're just having you drill out that lowest pre-located Arctic Cat hole and remount it down. And then also in the rear drop bracket, there's those 3 holes, and we're also having you remount onto that lower one as well. So the longer limiter and that remount gives you about 3/4 of an inch at the rear to balance that 2 inch at the front.
Okay.
Yeah, and we're an advocate for a fully balanced machine that's well tuned with suspension. So, we're making a change up front, and we're balancing that with the rear as well, whether that's dropping the skid on an Alpha or adding preload to a front track shock on a Chaos or a Skidoo. And in-house, we're taking the sleds and we're putting them on high-quality race scales and calculating weight bias and weight distribution, so that way your sled is performing, as well as it can with the Elevate spindles, and make sure we're not introducing any sort of negative effect to the sled. We see a lot of guys build sleds where they're taking 5 steps forward and 3 steps back with the components that they're putting on their sled. And so doing the testing and taking the time on snow to develop a process, it's kind of our mountain proven philosophy where everything works in conjunction with one another.
And you guys are big into suspension shock setup. You have a close relationship with Fox. You're one of their bigger distributors, right? And do you guys push the QS3? Is that kind of your favorite float product? Do you go coil setup?
I'm a float guy.
Yeah.
I've ran coils in the past, but recently switched to float, and I think I'm going to run that for the next season. And yeah, I like the adjustability the most of the float.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that ability on the float to adjust how progressive the spring rate curve or virtual spring rate curve can become is really a killer app you can't find on any shock. And that QS3 lockout on the rear track shock is just so important for me, as being a 155 guy, and we're recommending, on our Elevate setup, we're dropping the front arm into the lower hole as well. That can be a lot on some days. So having that option of the rear track shock lockout makes it so you have this coherent setup that is going to perform even on the deepest days, even when you have a shorter track, a more aggressive track, or more hollow snow, and it's not going to be frustrating. It's going to work. It's going to go for when you need it to go.
Yeah, and we have different setups for different riding styles and goals. So you can manipulate the sled's handling with suspension adjustments that we recommend. We have great baselines for guys to start with, but we also listen to what the customer wants in their riding style, where they're riding, whether it's dry Colorado snow or more moisture-rich snow up in BC. So we have suspension adjustments for all that type of different terrain and snow condition.
So take a new Chaos or new Pro. What's your ideal complete package? Like, are you going bigger wheels on the back? Are you doing a different rail? Because you guys build your own rails as well.
Yes. Yeah, we're actually the only available option for aftermarket rails in the world. Besides, a full. There's one company I think in Sweden doing full billet rails, but
and carbon rails too.
And carbon rails, yeah. But for aluminum, which we like the characteristics of aluminum and how it works in high stress, high impact situations. So that's why we stick with it. But in terms of the full package stuff, we have our mountain proven packages, which we're just releasing to the public soon this year. So when we're talking a mountain proven package, we're talking our Elevate spindles, set of rails, the Hellfire 9-inch big wheels, striker arms, and Fox suspension. Is really the key components of it. There's some small things like our toe loops and stuff like that. They can fill it out as well. But really, those are the pillars of what a mountain-proofing package is for an individual sled. And they're all designed to work together as a system, bolt and go, give you no headaches, whether that's on install or on the hill.
And you have similar thing for Skidoo.
Yep, we do. Our bread and butter is definitely Polaris.
Yeah.
So we have a few more products in our catalog for them. But yeah, Skidoo is going to be the same thing where spindles, rails, big wheel, full Fox suspension. That's going to be our mountain proven package.
What about the catalyst? Have you started anything on that yet?
Yeah, we had one in-house this summer, so we tore into that a little bit. We're excited to get some seat time on that. We have one on the way.
The geometry on the catalyst, I mean, they've done a similar thing. They've gotten the bulkhead out of the snow. I like what you were talking about, the points of contact on the snow, but they've eliminated the interference, which was the big problem one of the big problems with the Ascender. So are you going to bring that up even higher?
Yeah, I don't think we have any sort of dimension set in stone yet, but
we're going to be trying a number of different things.
Yeah,
so,
yeah.
That'll just be a project. See where it goes.
Yeah, we're excited for that one. It's going to be a really fun development project that's going to, take a lot of time, as we like it to make sure that it's perfect, but we're excited for the results.
Have you considered putting out an aftermarket twin rail kit for a cat?
We consider a lot of things.
Yeah.
Is that something in the works?
There's always something in the works. Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, we make rails, and we get a lot of guys asking about twin rail conversions.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yep. Absolutely.
Yeah, and you would probably have to go with like a Polaris track or something, I'm assuming.
Yep.
You'd have to do a different track.
Route.
Maybe not necessarily a Polaris track, but a similar, probably a 15 wide is what we would prefer. Yeah.
All right. Caleb Kosturki. This guy, he's out of Bozeman. Well, he's not out of Bozeman, but he worked closely with IceAge.
Yep.
He run Elevate on all of his Polarises. What is his setup?
He doesn't. He's on stock spindles right now.
He's got the factory Polaris stuff going on, so he's probably on factory equipment.
Whether that's a contract he has with Polaris, but just his unique riding style. Mm-hmm. He's ran Elevate in the past, but yeah, all of his sleds just have stock spindles. But yeah, he's a huge fan of our Hellfire wheel. In the past, he used to run our plastic quad wheel, which was 4 wheels on the inside of the rails, and it helped distribute that load. And now he exclusively runs our Hellfire wheels, just 2, because they work so well.
And you're going with the bigger diameter on the Hellfire stuff, right? Or is that
For our mountain proven packages, we are. For Caleb's use case, his use case is not similar to that of most customers or of our
definitely
group.
not.
Yeah, so we do special things with Caleb and for Caleb, but we use those lessons that we learned and those carryover concepts to bring better technology, better durability at the forefront to things that we can buy as
yeah, Caleb and guys like Caleb and Andreas Bergmark, like there's a handful of guys that are in a category that they need something that nobody else will ever need.
Mm-hmm.
Like they'll never move a shock the same way, if they got on Caleb's suspension setup or Andreas is like, you're not moving that suspension the way you ride.
Yeah, it's tough to sell something that will make riding easier to somebody that never gets tired. Yeah.
Yeah, good stamina.
That's a good point. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh man. Well, where do you guys? So you guys are out of Bozeman. Do you ride the north side? Where do you do most of your testing and riding at?
Typically south of Bozeman. Yeah, one of our local riding zones is just about 5-10 minutes from the shop. It's kind of our local honey hole, kind of our secret spot. Down toward Big Sky, there's a lot of riding that we do down there in the canyon. And then, we're big fans of Island Park and West Yellowstone area. There's great access down there and good riding.
That stuff by Big Sky, like that's phenomenal. And there's not a lot of people there.
No, yeah, we have some of the best access for snowmobiling close by.
I think you can throw that out there because nobody else is going to drive that far either.
We'll still keep it a secret.
That's going to be a secret spot for a long time. But it's a lot of terrain.
Yeah.
A lot of snow.
And there's riding to the north too. And we're not far from Sealy. We're not far from the Flathead. BC is still a weekend trip type thing. We can still do that to Revelstoke.
Yeah. So
we're very lucky where we have access to lots of good riding and lots of potential snow areas. Cook is 4 or 5 hours away. So
we're in a unique area where early season, pretty much guaranteed. Cook City is going to get an early storm. We have great riding locally, and then you go up north to Kalispell or Whitefish area, and the snow conditions change a little bit up there. There's more moisture, and then like Ben said, Revelstoke is a weekend trip away. So really nice to have access like that.
And to be able to test where you can test into July, that's good. That's a big deal for us with the amount of testing we like to do. I think type of time frame.
Last year, our first ride was October 23rd, and our last ride of the season was, I think, the first week of June or last week of May. And pretty much full tilt. Last year was a unique season, but full tilt riding every weekend from October 23rd till the last ride.
Yeah, I don't think a lot of people appreciate how much you guys have to squeeze into a 6-month window to do an operation like this. Because you start out validating last year's stuff that's going to be current model year sales, and then you've got to switch into development somewhere in that early process and continue to validate current, but switch over to future stuff, and then you're already a year or two ahead by the end of the season.
Yeah, there's a lot of time that it takes for validation. So 6 months goes by quick.
Yeah, I don't want to be the guy that's complaining about how often we have to ride, but it's a lot. It's a lot. We definitely are lucky to be in the position. But a lot of trailer time, a lot of wrenching on sleds on the snow. A lot of trying different things, maybe not going out and chasing every powder storm so that we can get the data we need and get the validation we need for current and future products.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, dream job for, I'm sure, a lot of people out there. Looking at this stuff and just wishing they could go to that. All right, IceAge Performance. Check you guys out on the website, the social media. You guys are putting together videos lately on installation. Like you have a chaos conversion kit for older sleds that have pro geometry.
Or new sleds, 2024. Maybe you got a pro, that's all you could snow check, and you want a chaos, but you also want that killer app of the rear track shock lockout so you can keep that front end down on deep days. It's a great option for anyone, 2016 to current.
Yeah, cool stuff. All right, thanks again for listening to SnoWest Show. Again, brought to you by Polaris Snowmobiles. The 2024 models are delivering. The 9Rs begin shipping last week. So hopefully we go home and those things are sitting at the dealership ready to go pick up.
Fingers crossed.
Oh yeah, we're gonna go pick ours up. We've got a whole bunch of stuff planned.
Awesome.
In fact, we need to get hooked up with you guys and
we should go
run some of that
stuff.
Yeah,
definitely.
Yeah. But again, check out Polaris Snowmobiles. Check out their full lineup of the RMK model, Chaos Pro, whatever your heart desires. They have the 850. Check your local dealers. You'll be able to get the 850 RMK, 850 Chaos RMK, Pro RMK. You can get those in various track lengths, various lug heights. But check your local dealer and check out Polaris snowmobiles. Thanks, guys, for coming on.
Yeah, thank you.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.